You want to talk about MVP?
Let's do it because I'm just as lost as you are.
So, speak more on that, please.
So the back and forth we've gone with who should win and who's in the lead, and like this category really was originated from the old show that I used to do, Final Score, because every week of the NFL season, I had my buddy Brett from Gotham on, and we'd do an MVP tracker. And each week we would just say, okay, based on week 1 or the first 4 weeks of the season or first 7 weeks, let's track who the top 5 NFL MVP candidates are. And you got to see how the race changed. It went from Josh Allen to Patrick Mahomes to Aaron Rodgers. This is 2 years ago. So we threw Michael Thomas in there. We threw other players in there. And then you finally got to see how it changed. And I feel like for us this season and through most NBA voters, it went from Steph to KD to LeBron, like LeBron at moments, I should say, to Embiid to Giannis, and Ja's now getting loved. And there's a DeRozan camp. And for some reason, we've all now landed, it feels, that at least the conversation and the narrative around MVP has landed on the fact like it was probably Nikola Jokic all along. Well, and we look at the numbers and what as the sample size has gotten bigger, it might actually end up being that the guy who won last year was the MVP this year all along anyway.
So I'm happy you said narrative. By the way, I actually didn't look at this before we came on. What is the voting or the odds on favor right now?
Right now, Embiid is minus 120. So it's barely, and Jokic is plus 260.
Okay.
So it's basically neck and neck.
I'm happy you use the word narrative because barring something strange, Joel Embiid is going to win this award. And outside of some arguments that I like, Embiid has the highest, he has the highest usage rate in basketball. Like, so he is the team. After Doncic, Doncic is at 37.3, Embiid is at 37, and then after that is someone else we're going to talk about shortly, Giannis Antetokounmpo at 34.8. So there's a drop off. So yes, he monopolizes so many possessions for that team. That's an argument. Fine. You want to say he's a far better defender than Jokic? That's fine too. That's another argument. Where I'm at is twofold. One, the easy part of this conversation is this is now a 3-man race. And there is no argument for anybody else other than Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And yes, I am putting Giannis Antetokounmpo in that group purely because Giannis is having a season that literally no one else has had before in the history of the league. You want to say, okay, well, he's done this before, right? He's done this. We've seen these kind of numbers, and you look at his points, you look at his assists, you look at his rebounds, and like, yes, it is not discernibly different from the last few years. The 2 years he won MVP, and then last year what did he finish? 4th last year? Like points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, efficiency, like all that stuff. And you're like, well, he didn't win it last year. Why shouldn't he win it this year? Or why should he win it this year? I'm not saying he should, but there is one jump that he did take. So if you look at his free throws made per game, which is a big, big, big thing when you're talking about Giannis, because that has always been something of a bugaboo. Even though he has shot it well, this player has never made more than 7 free throws a game in his career. Mm-hmm. He's at 8.3 this season on 11.4 attempts. He is living at the line. And to me, that is an appreciable difference because that says to me that now where he's at in his game, he can get to the line whenever he wants. And unlike 2 seasons ago, which is the only time he averaged double-digit free throw attempts, and he shot 63%, he's at 72% this year. So there is a little bit of a jump from previous years. And again, I did the search in terms of players throughout NBA history. There have been 92 players in NBA history who have averaged at least 8 free throw attempts per game. Giannis Antetokounmpo, his effective field goal percentage this year, 58.1, is second. on that list, only to Charles Barkley, who had a 60.4 effective field goal percentage back in 87, 88. And so Charles averaged a little bit more than 3 assists that year. Giannis is averaging 6 assists. The rest of their numbers are pretty similar. And like, you just go through it, like he just puts up numbers that nobody else has ever put up. There's no other way to say it. That said, I probably have him third. Here's the thing though. I'm not sure why Embiid is ahead of him, because if you do a head-to-head comparison, points, they're scoring about the same. Rebounds, they're rebounding about the same. Giannis averages, like I said, 6 assists a game. Embiid is at 4.3. Effective field goal percentage. They play kind of the same position. Like, I get Embiid is taking tougher shots or whatever, and like Giannis is more of a force in transition, but like, guess what? That's a credit to him. He shouldn't get demoted for that. That's like something he brings to the table that no one else does. Giannis effective field goal percentage 58.1. Joel Embiid 52.6. That's a big freaking difference. I get it. The Bucks are like, they're coming off a championship. They're kind of disappointing, the whole thing. And like, all eyes have been on Philly this season, a lot of pressure on Embiid, all that stuff. I just don't know why Embiid is like materially ahead of Giannis.
Narratives.
Narrative.
That's what we started with. Yeah.
Narrative. And then
go ahead.
Mr. Nikola Jokic, who won last year, really because voters didn't have another reasonable option. Once Embiid got hurt, there was no other like, oh, I'm going to vote for this guy. No, there was nobody else to vote for. It was Nikola Jokic's award. What were you going to say? I'm
curious if you did the same research I did on this. Because you said Giannis is having a season no one's ever had. And I was like, actually, Jokic is having the season that no one's ever had. So I'm curious if you see it too.
So Nikola Jokic this season, in terms of just, again, you want to go through like counting stats real quick? We could do counting stats real quick.
He's the only person as of right now, if like the season ended today, he would be the only player in NBA history to average 26, 13, and 8 over a season. And yes, he did it on a 62% effective field goal percentage and a 66% true shooting. So
which is materially higher than last year. Last year was 60.2, by far a career high, other than his second year when he was not anywhere sort of the same usage guy. This year, like you said, it's 62. The rebounding jump.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
3 more rebounds per game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Well, no, it's 13.9 in rebounds per game. And as a simplification for all of the advanced stats that he leads, someone put up a chart the other day of what the 3 lead candidates all lead in. And it was like, so Embiid or Giannis is in points per game. And then I think one of them is averaging higher in 3-point percentage. And probably the free throws also would, like you said, would lead either toward Embiid and then Giannis and then Jokic. But then there's a whole column for just advanced stats, and it's just Jokic.
Well, we're getting. You're taking away my steam. We're getting.
Go ahead.
I just want to. So the rebounding jump, and then if you want to be like, well, but defense, Giannis between steals and blocks, he's at 2.5 together, steals and blocks. Joel Embiid together, steals and blocks. Of course, Basketball Reference is taking its sweet time. He's about the same. And Nikola Jokic, steals and blocks together, 2.3. So like not materially different from those other guys. Joel Embiid is exactly at 2.5, same as Giannis. I know that is not everything in terms of defense. Let's get to the advanced stats, and then I'm going to tell you something that's I think is going to blow your mind. So you mentioned just like first place. It's not just that he's in first. It's by how much he's in first. Value over replacement player. He's at 7.9. Giannis, second, 6.3. Embiid, third, 5.1. Win shares.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic, 12.4. Giannis, 11.4. Embiid, 9.5. And then I saved the best for last. Box plus minus. 14.0. Giannis 11.5, Embiid 9.7. They're 1, 2, 3 in all of those categories. Do you want to take a guess as to how many players in the history of basketball have had a higher box plus minus than Nikola Jokic at 14 this season?
1?
No,
2?
that would be 0.
0. Okay. So yeah.
Last year, his box plus minus was 3rd. And again, box plus minus is a little bit of a misleading statistic because it factors in how your team does with you on the floor versus how your team does with you off the floor. And the fact that the Nuggets are ass when Jokic doesn't play has obviously something to do with Jokic, but it also has things to do with who else is on their team. That being said, he's number 1 ever this season, 14.0, actually 14.03. Second place, LeBron James in 2008, 2009, when he won his first MVP, 13.24. Third place, a guy by the name of Michael Jordan during his 87-88 season, arguably his greatest statistical season, 12.96. One more ridiculous stat for you. Now we're going over to win shares per 48 minutes. And I save this. This is the best for last. Currently, Nikola Jokic is 11th place all time on this list, the season he's having right now. The top 10 ahead of him in order: Kareem, Wilt, Kareem, LeBron, Jordan, LeBron, Curry, Jordan, and then one spot after his year this year, his own season last year. That's your top 12. You want to know how those guys did in MVP races?
They all won.
All but 2. And the 2 guys who didn't win, Wilt, who has the 3rd highest, and Kareem was the 4th highest. They both finished second. Wilt finished second to Oscar Robertson. And by the way, Oscar put up the 36th highest season in this stat ever. So, and voters always had issues with Wilt. And then when Kareem didn't win, it was the only year in a stretch of 4 seasons he didn't win. He finished second to Dave Cowens, which is kind of one of those awards that's looked back on in NBA history is like, that was ridiculous at the time, and it's even more ridiculous now. So, long way of saying Nikola Jokic is my MVP.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put Giannis second over Embiid.
I get it. I think the narratives will put Embiid, if not 1, he'll finish second behind Jokic.
Embiid's going to win.
I don't think he is. I really don't think he is. I'm not as confident as you are. There is a growing support for, like, they're closer in record than people realize. And then you just look there's going to be enough intelligent people that will look deeper into the numbers that take away from the narrative. I think Embiid will finish.
There really?
Yes, this happens every year. If the narrative around last year, Chris Paul would have won. If it was 2 years ago, LeBron would have beaten Giannis. Like, we are at the point where I think the Westbrook MVP broke everybody's brain. Like, we really gave the MVP to a guy in a 6th seed because he got a lot of triple doubles. And since then, the actual most valuable player has won every season. Yeah. And that's why I think you should give the voting body a little more credit in how this award's going to go. The odds wouldn't be what they are if it was strictly narrative based.
A certain local beat writer who is not going to be named voted for James Wiseman as on his all rookie first team last year.
Well, the rookie, the smaller sample awards like that, where you're just like, you're not able to watch everything. I think the MVP is a different thing.
There's a lot of voters who go on feel, / narrative. It's just, I don't have as much faith.
And I really think when the Nuggets get the 4 seed or the 5 seed, but they win like 50 games and their second best player all season was Austin Rivers, or whoever you want to say is their second best player, they're going to be like, okay, now let's look deeper at the numbers. And with the analytical advanced stat case you made, then you just go to the counting stats. He's the only player in NBA history to average 26, 13, and 8. Like, only. Wilt never did it. Oscar Robertson never did it. LeBron never did it.
I know.
26, 13, and 8. And he's doing it on ridiculous efficiency.
I'll say this. I would be shocked. It's probably going to be Giannis that comes in 4th again. I'd be shocked if either Ja or Probably Ja. I think Ja is going to be the one to sneak into the top 4. And Ja's having a wonderful season, by the way, just to be very clear. So let me finish. I'm going to do my top 10. So those are my top 3. 4th place right now, I'm leaning Luka. He's 4th in a lot of these advanced stats. His numbers are what they are. They're really good. He's really freaking good. I know it's crazy to say, because he hasn't had a great year for him in terms of what we know he's capable of. Mostly from an efficiency standpoint, he has not been terribly efficient. He's shooting 33% from deep. That's not really what you want. But he's, I don't know. It might be the best player in the game. I don't really know.
It's also 0-2 against the Knicks, but factor that in however you want to with your voting.
But that's why he's not gonna come in top 3. I will flip a coin between DeRozan and Ja Morant for me for 5th. I have basically in my mind, I have a group of 5 that are in the next tier after the top 3, and it's Luka, DeRozan, Morant, Curry, and I think Tatum kind of has to be in there at this point.
Curry's fallen really far for me at this point.
Yeah, but that's also, I think, a little bit of are we starting to take this for granted? Again, going back to I'll just read the top guys in value over replacement player, which I think is the best one of these advanced stats.
Fine.
It's Jokic, Antetokounmpo, Embiid, Doncic 4th, LeBron 5th. Didn't mention his name. Steph Curry 6th. Karl Anthony Towns, a guy who I'm not going to mention his name, but probably deserves, again, should he be in your top 10? Maybe. And then Ja Morant 8th. And then Jason Tatum, DeJounte Murray 9th. How about that? And then Jason Tatum 10th. I don't know.
All the names are correct. After 7 or 8, you look more toward all NBA for me, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the 10.
I'll say this: Luka, Curry, Ja, DeRozan, and Tatum, I think, are all of the rest of the guys that have an argument for getting into the top 5 on the ballot. I do not think anybody else, other than the top 3 and those 5, has a legitimate argument for being in the top 5 on the ballot.
Curry, Ja,
Luka, DeRozan, Tatum,
and then LeBron and whoever you want.
Actually, no,
10.
I'm not. LeBron's not in my top 10. Listen, man.
Okay,
you're in 9th fucking place.
You just mentioned Karl Anthony Towns' name.
No. Do you want me to tell you who my last 2 are?
Last 2. Go ahead.
Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker.
Oh, that's fair. You're going by. I'm always going to be okay with what's your record argument. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Best team in each conference, best player on each team who's played the most games. You want to give me the Chris Paul, but Chris Paul's injury kind of takes him out of the discussion. So they get my last 2 spots. Why? Out of respect. No LeBron, no Karl Anthony Towns. I don't even know who else is worth it. Donovan Mitchell, no. Kevin Durant, sorry. Thanks for playing. Can't get on an MVP ballot when you play.
I was about to say, in this case, thanks for not playing. That's why you didn't get the consideration that Don wanted to give.
If he gets up to 55 games,
if he gets up, if you want to make a case for the bottom 2, that's fine.
But
I think. But
unless
even
Brooklyn,
then, if you're going to talk about LeBron,
I was about to say, unless Brooklyn gets into the top 6, yeah, no, you're right. But
I
whatever.
agree.